Alrighty, patch 5.6 just right around the corner. Now, surprisingly, Chronicle banner was shown to be coming back in this patch as well. I was kind of surprised. Like, honestly, I didn't really expect it to be here, but apparently it does. So we're going to be having today's video discussing a little bit about it. I don't think we're going to be spending too much time on this because, well, as usual, Chronicle banner isn't too much of a priority for most of us, right? So basically, just to get it out of the way, if you look into it, the most important character on the Chronicle banner is just going to be Kazuha. I know I say it's the most important, however, technically speaking, there is a reason why Hoyoverse decided to give Kazuha on the Chronicle banner, as usually Chronicle banners are for those of the character that aren't too popular. So why is he here? It's one of the reasons why. It's just that Kazuha popularity is still good. However, he's not as, a requirement to be built on the team as before, because generally speaking, first off, we have Shilonen, a character that has been used a lot recently. Not to mention, we have so many different characters that can be slot and to build a team such as Sifrina, Lali, and then our upcoming character, Escoffier, is also a very valuable sub DPS character that would potentially be used across a lot of the team as well. Now, that is not to say Kazuha doesn't have his value. He's still very good as a character. Every single thing that Kazuha is capable of doing, he is still absolutely amazing at. Everything from the resistant shred up to the point of giving elemental damage bonus to your team. The only thing about Kazuha is just that he is rather a hard character for you guys to actually, always constantly get the right buff that you would want to get. And especially characters such as Shilonen nowadays, many of the Natlan character actually benefits a lot from her because of all of the Nightsoul buff and stuff like that. Therefore, Kazuha value has been decreased slightly, but obviously if you're still using him, he's still an absolutely amazing character, which is why if you like him, I think this is a perfect chance for you guys to get, because again, we absolutely do not know when he is going to be coming back now that, he's been placed on Chronicle banner in patch 5.6. Now, when it comes to the rest of the other characters on the Chronicle banners, I would just have to give it straight is that basically they're just going to be preference-wise character. Now, preference-wise is not a bad thing, because if we just focusing on the meta, it's not going to be the way that we want to play the game, right? So obviously you can decide to pull the rest of the character based on your preference wise. However, you do have to think about the character obviously that are going to be coming in patch 5.6, right? That has to be Escoffier, the rerun character of Navia, Kinish, and Raiden Shogun. I've already made a video on that, but most importantly it's going to be Escoffier. Now, if you're into freeze team, then that changes the value of the Chronicle banner slightly, because if you like freeze team, you're pulling for Escoffier, then it's a really good thing that Ayaka is here right now. Yes, Ayaka is one of the characters that benefits the most from freeze team at the current point. It would be kind of bad if she wasn't back alongside with Escoffier, so Hoyoverse decided to put her on the Chronicle banner is the right thing to do. So good luck if you guys are trying to pull for Ayaka. I think she's still great as a character, especially when you are used in the right team. The only problem for most of the Cryo character before is that the reactions for Cryo wasn't that good, which is why Cryo character has been kind of forgotten ever since, I would say, until 5.6, because Escoffier is coming back. Everything that Ayaka is capable of in terms of being a on-field DPS normal attacking character, or if you're someone like me who love her elemental burst focus kind of build, then it's still a very good thing, which is why Ayaka benefits a lot into freeze. Constellation wise, honestly, I don't really think you would like to invest into Constellation for Ayaka. If you're trying to investing into Constellation for Ayaka to be better, I just rather you invest into her team, either Escoffier Constellation, because it is going to be really good, and I'm pretty sure Shenhe is going to be a character that you're going to be using on many of your Cryo team a lot. Right, so if you invest into a Shenhe Constellation, yeah, this is not the time when you can do it because Shenhe isn't here. But what I'm saying is that if you try to invest into the other supportive character on Ayaka's team, then generally speaking, it's just going to be yielding you more benefit. So that's about Ayaka, right? Another character that can technically benefit decently off of Escoffier is going to be Ayato if you like him, right? I have had to mention is that if you like him, because he's a Hydro DPS on-field character, and wow, I'm pretty sure you guys already have a Neuvillette on your account. So Neuvillette is always going to be a better Hydro DPS character, hands down. But if you like Ayato, then Ayato can technically benefit from a freeze team Escoffier team coming up. And I feel that that's going to be a decent thing for Ayato too. Therefore, you can kind of consider it if you are somebody who is into Ayato. Other than that, Kokomi would then have slightly more value, because obviously Kokomi is an amazing character to be used in a freeze team. However, her value at this point, you know, decrease quite a lot, especially when we have a lot of other Hydro character to be used, especially with Furina. Generally, if you were to be using in a Ayaka DPS Escoffier team, then the other two slot would generally be either Shenhe and the Furina already. So Kokomi technically don't always have a place on many of the team nowadays. The only time when you would use Kokomi is either you are building her as a DPS Kokomi to be used on a mono Hydro team, or you don't have a Furina on your account, so you have to have a Kokomi to be a off-field Hydro applicator for your team, which is something that she still does amazingly, especially when she has access to Thrilling Tales, healing capability for your team, and also Hydro application as we have mentioned. So those are going to be the 3 characters on the Chronicle banner that I would feel kind of makes sense for you guys to think about if you are considering a free team. Other than that, another honorable mention character is going to be Yae Miko if you're looking into an Electro sub DPS character on your account. But while Yae Miko has always been notoriously considered bad as a damage dealer if you are having her at a C0, the only time when she gets better is obviously if you invest into her constellation. I love Yae Miko as a character, which is why I'm saying that if it's a preference kind of things for you guys to think about to invest in, generally that is the only time when Chronicle banner would make sense, right? Obviously, if you invest up to a C4, Yae Miko, technically Yae Miko is still one of the highest damaging character on my account until this point, because yeah, I invest a lot into her. Now, the other Geo character, such as Shiori, also kind of like a preference honorable mention, because Shiori does decent off-field Geo damage, but again, she's a Geo character, right? So generally, she can't really be used on many of the teams that actually make sense other than Geo most of the time. But if you want to force her to be on kind of like a Navia team, I guess that you can do that, but honestly, Navia don't usually have a Chiori team, so technically you're just going to be having Chiori many of the time on your preference team wise for her to have a general sub DPS damage. Or if you're using her on an Ito team and you're having him as a character to be pooling, then I guess that also makes sense. But overall, Ito compared to Navia is just like kind of like a straight downgrade. But again, we're looking into the meta wise options at that point, right? If you like Ito as a character, at least he has some 6-pack for you guys to actually look into it, even though if I remember correctly it was kind of already nerfed. But if you would like to have pull for him to gawk around at it, I guess it's still kind of fine. And then lastly, we have Yoimiya. I just have to straight up say she's a preference character, right? If you like pulling for her, I'm pretty sure you have already gotten her. So yeah, I don't think I have to talk a lot about Yoimiya at this point. She's still smiling regardless of all the situations she has been in over the years. Other than that, we also have the weapon banner. Now I would just have to give it straight is that the weapon banner technically has more value than the character banner itself, because some of the weapons here are actually pretty good, right? First off, we have the Mist Splitter, basically one of, if not the most universal sword out there for a DPS character for you, because generally you can use the passive, uptime very high, good crit damage, overall just a very solid 5-star sword options that you can use. Other than that, the Uraku and the Haran, generally the Uraku will be slightly more universal than the Haran, though those two swords are also pretty universal because of the crit ratio they actually give. So if you do have the premium gems to spare, well, you can justify trying going for it. But if you're going for a sword options already, most of the time you try going for the Mist Splitter because, well, it's right alongside with the other sword. Now, if you want a very decent support sword options, then the Freedom Sworn is right there, and I think it has one of the best value on the Chronicle weapon banner right now. Rarely do we have a 5-star actively support passive options for a weapon, and Freedom Sworn is one of them. So if you would like to, give a buff to, your Kazuha whatsoever, then technically you can use a Freedom Sworn. The Red Horn Claymore is pretty decent. It is rather one of the more universal Claymore out there that we can use on many of the characters, which is kind of nice. However, it's not a must pull, so I don't think that many of the time we should want to actually go invest into it. But well, if you really are lacking in Claymore 5-star options and you would just have to go for it, it's not a bad option. It's rather a good option that can be used on many of your characters. Kagura Verity is more of a situational options where it mostly focuses on the character that uses the E skill multiple times. For example, if I remember correctly, Veressa is one of the recent characters that can make use of it really well. Other than that, many of the time it's just mostly for Yae Miko. If you really don't have any other catalyst options and you just like to have a good crit damage catalyst, then the Kagura isn't too bad. And Thundering Pulse is also another pretty universal bow option that you can use for your DPS character. The Donut basically, almost never actually use it. However, if you do have these options and you have Mualani as well, technically I'm still using this on Mualani and it fits her very much perfectly. It has been a while since I've had my Donut be used on a pretty nice character. So while it has its value, but again, it is not a must pull. So there you go guys, basically all the Chronicle banner at this point. Generally speaking, if it comes down to your preference, decide on the character that you would like to pull. However, there is a very important thing, is that think hard about your preference character as well, because if you're somebody who would like to have Skirk on your account, then do keep that in mind, as Escoffier is most likely going to be a very good character on Skirk team. So first of all, you technically would love to invest into Escoffier in patch 5.6, right? Not to mention after that Skirk is going to be coming, so you also have to save your Primogem for Skirk's pull. And generally, if you love Skirk already, you would like to have her team to do good. So at the very least, you would want to also have her weapon as well. So that's going to be more pull for you. Not to mention for those of you who are more toward a Dolphin kind of side, you guys may probably going to be considering a Escoffier weapon as well as Constellation. So yeah, that's going to be a lot of consideration on your side as well. So well, if you're still on the fence of which character to be pulling for in patch 5.6, like Escoffier, NH Raiden or Navia, I've also got a dedicated video on that. So be sure to check it out, as I'm sure it's going to be very valuable to you. I think that's all I have to discuss. If you do have any question, leave it down in the comment section and I or some other lovely Genshin Impact player will get to you there. With that, I wish you a super day and I will catch you on my next video.